Cut it out, Bo. Go downstairs. Go. I'll be down in a minute.
You know how it is, like starting up. It's hard as shit.
Whether they're good, bad, or ugly, getting the message out there that people aren't just like these superstars or shitbags. Like, there's a point behind everybody what they're doing. I'm a fucking moron. Mike.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. With you as always, me, Ben. Tonight, I'm extremely honored to be joined by our special guest, Mr. Philip Bowen. Mr. Bowen, thank you for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me up. I appreciate it.
For those of you that don't know Mr. Bowen here, I'll call you Philip if that's okay. We'll keep it a little. Yeah,
it's great.
And he is I would call you, I guess, more bluegrass, country, Americana, if you will. I guess I'd go with that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that fits.
Singer, artist, musician, you name it. He's put out his own tracks that are wonderful. Old Kanawha is like a painting in a song, if you will. And then his other stuff, he I know you've collaborated a lot with people, wrote for him and stuff. We're gonna get into all that stuff, but first we're gonna talk to him for kind of Philip. I'll just go right into it. Tell us about where you're from first off. Like where'd you come from? Obviously, that's the foundation of all this.
Yeah. So I am from like a very small town in West Virginia, like southern West Virginia. So almost kind of like pretty close to like the border of Kentucky and Ohio, and small town called Montgomery, West Virginia, just a couple thousand people, and right on the Kanawha River, just like the song's about there. River was literally in my backyard growing up, and the Appalachian Mountains are all around. Like I grew up in the Kanawha Valley, so on either side of the town, like is just mountains and small town USA. So it was a really really nice place to grow up, and music's just a big part of our culture in Appalachia. So I think that's why there's probably so much good, songwriting and stuff coming out of there. But yeah, I grew up in West Virginia and was born and raised there.
Yeah, I always hear a lot of stories about that with West Virginia. So I'm from Missouri, so we're kind of in the hills, but it's not really like that West Virginia. There's like a deep culture there. There's a lot of stuff going on. Were you for like music and stuff, were you surrounded by all that growing up, or was that kind of like kind of just heard about it, or what went on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty organic would be the word. Like it's like so much of the culture is like this kind of blue collar working man storytelling culture. And so I always describe this at my shows and stuff too, is that like it's hard to comprehend if you didn't grow up around that, but like, it doesn't really matter. Like weddings, birthdays, funerals, after church lunches. I mean, anything that could possibly be going on where you're getting together, there's music involved most of the time. People are bringing their instruments and kind of sharing that with each other. And there's all these like little bluegrass festivals and gatherings as well too. But it's just a great way to just kind of be immersed in it as a culture, growing up. So it's just pretty much everywhere all the time. So it's not not as much of a foreign thing, like getting up in front of people and playing and all that kind of stuff. You kind of get used to that early on.
Yeah, I can feel that. It's always like it's such a wonderful feeling when you're around those people. Like that music, you get like tingles when you hear certain songs and stuff from like your childhood when everyone was hanging out and stuff. I love that vibe because it kind of relates to now where me and my friends and stuff, we love just sitting around listening to music, but some of those songs trigger that memory and then it turns into that memory, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah, 100%. Very nostalgic in that way.
Yeah. What so you're growing up there. What was high school like? Were you involved in any music stuff at that point, like in school or out of it, or were you did it come that early on?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing the fiddle since I was like 4.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, like that's like the fiddle for me is like almost like breathing. Like I don't have to think about it as much when I play. Like I very much experience it like um it's more like intuitive, it's just like it's been part of what I've been doing for so long. And then I really wanted to be able to like play and sing and like have that kind of like performance instrument while I sang. I was really getting into songwriting and stuff. So I got into playing the acoustic guitar in college. So my dad bought me my first guitar when I was 18, and I had a few buddies that played that were just kind of teach me in the dorm room, and stuff like that. So I got really heavy into like writing and playing the guitar and stuff like that more there. But the fiddle has been around me for probably the longest. It's my first love for sure.
Yeah, what how did that end up at 4 years old you get into playing fiddle? Like, dang, that's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my parents are both pretty musical people. Like they didn't like play anything per se. My dad like plays, the trombone like lightly from his band days, but he like just loves music. He always did like the music at our church and stuff growing up. And my mom always loved music, and they both were really passionate about like us just trying to like learn some kind of instrument when we were kids. And so my older sister was playing the piano, and I was remember watching Sesame Street and seeing this guy like playing the violin, and I was just so really as only like a 4-year-old can be. I became like super obsessed with about like, oh, I want to learn that. I want to learn that. And there was I mean, I had seen people playing it too because of where I lived. I'd seen people playing the fiddle before. So I was so interested in doing that. And so my mom found me like lessons at this little community college in our town. And it just always made sense to me. I just fell in love with it. Truly, like I've always loved playing, and I just kind of caught the bug with that early. So I never quit. I just always was kind of part of my life. So
yeah.
I've been playing it ever since I can remember, truly.
What well, were you like I guess you get to your later years, you're getting out of high school and stuff. Are you planning on, as you talk about it, it sounds like you had a super knack for it and you're writing and you're doing all this stuff. Coming out of high school, like what's your plans? You got like, you're going to be a musician, you want to go to college, you want to be a writer, or what's the game plan there? Because especially just a side note too, I, I don't know exactly how small your town was, but I know mine, it was very small like that, and a lot of people only have a couple outlets from there. You either got to go to college and do something, you got to go to work right around that town usually, or you got to join the military. Which, how was it for y'all?
Yeah, I mean that was really. I mean, either people like I know a lot of people like the big thing was because of where I lived. For many people, like the immediate thing was if you weren't going to college, you would go to like trade, like do a trade. Like whatever you're gonna be a welder or electrician or whatever, or you're going down into the mines. Like some people, like right out of high school, just going straight down to the mines, coal mines. Um, or you're getting in trouble or something, or you're going away to college and you're figuring something out. And so the thing about doing music as a job, it seemed so foreign to me. Like I really was ignorant of all of that. Like I
Oh
never,
wow.
I truly like I dreamed about certain things, but I never really even knew how to do it. Like even at that age, I wasn't even thinking of it in that way necessarily. And then when I was in college, I had a few people that like I went to college in Tampa Bay in Florida, and I had a few friends that were like, "Oh my gosh, dude, you should do something with this." And like I did the college band thing, like a lot of people. We would go play, some of the beach bars and like coffee shops and stuff around Clearwater, Florida, and Tampa. And then kind of real life starts to set in. We had some people start graduating, and okay, like what's the plan? And I was really scared about being a starving artist. I truly didn't even know how it would even work in terms of like going to Nashville or wherever you go. And I was really scared to death of not succeeding, at life. And so like I really chickened out of doing it. Like I was just scared of it would make me hate doing music if I had to do it for my job. And so I went and like I went and got like my MBA like in marketing. So I went to grad school for business, and so I have an MBA in digital marketing, and I started working in the corporate world, and that ended up serving me really well when I decided to try one more time to do music. But that was kind of it. Like I would do it on the side, for fun. I never stopped playing completely, but um yeah, it was kind of weird for me. I didn't really even know how I would have done it or how to do it. And I'm so encouraged now when I go work with like maybe some 20 somethings like right out of college or something like that. And they've had this plan. They're right down there and they're just getting after it. And I was kind of ignorant of all of that. I just didn't know how you would even go about doing it. And I didn't have that confidence. And so I'm thankful for how it worked out, but that was kind of how I ended up where I was in like the corporate world right after college and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy nowadays, especially just in general, like younger. I don't know how old you are. I'm 32. So like
Okay.
seeing these young 20-year-olds, like late teens, even like
Mhm.
19, 18-year-olds, they seem to know the roadmap a lot better now to become successful, and
Yeah.
they are dogging it when they go to it. They're like, I'm going to become the best now, and they get after it.
Yes. I think that's one of the biggest blessings. Like, there's a lot of bad things about social media, obviously, but one of the best things about it is that kind of like shared knowledge across the board. Because like music, for especially, there's so much mystery around. Well, how does any of this work? Like, how do you get paid on your songs, and how do you even make a job out of it, and blah 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 blah. And and even like in the last like 10 years, like there's never been a better time to be an independent artist. Like, it's really, there's a low barrier to entry. It's hard to like make waves and make a living just like it always has been, but you have so much more power now as an indie artist to like build your own fan base and come to the table with leverage. And so for me, um I mean, the long and short of it is, like, right before COVID started, I had like gone down to like a friend had invited me to like a little music conference in Nashville, so I went. And I was just so, while I was there, I was just like overtaken by, like, man, I should have never, what was I thinking? I always kind of felt like I was meant to do music. And I could never shake it. And so I made this commitment to myself going into 2020 that every single day, I still have the card in my studio on the desk. Like, every day going into 2020, I was going to do something music related, even if it was something small. And I was going to stick to it every single day and watch what would happen. And then the world kind of shut down. And so I was like, well, I want to keep this promise to myself. And so I started, putting some stuff out online. I would do these like live shows from the spare bedroom in my house, with just, I had no idea what I was doing with any of it. And I just was like relentless with it. I would do 12 to 15 hours of live performances a night, like a week.
Dang.
Yeah. So like I would work all day, um, you know, play with the kids and everything, get everybody in bed. Then about 9:30 or 10, I'd start, and I go from 10 till 12 or 10 to 1. Man, I almost killed myself doing this, but like I was just like literally one person at a time, and I would do all these thousands of hours of live shows from my house because there was no one else to do it. And that really kind of helped me build my social media presence and blah blah blah. Like, so when I was ready to get out there and start putting stuff out, like I had a kind of a built-in audience, So it was just it's a kind of an insane thing to, like, for me, it took me being like, okay, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die. Like, I have to try this one more time. So for me, at like 35, I was like, all right, I'm trying one more time to make this work. And I'm just blessed. Like, every day I get to do music for a living is just the best day of my life. I just, for the longest time, I was convinced that this was 100% like a dead dream for me. And you know what I mean? So like, even if all that ever happens is the stuff I've gotten to do the last few years, like I just can't believe it. It's been such a blessing to be able to do what I'm doing. So that's a very long answer to your question, but that's kind of like the long and short of like how I got from, this might be cool. And then like the corporate world kind of sucks you up. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll try one more time and try to figure this out. And it just kind of took off a little bit. So that's how it ended up happening.
Yeah, man, it's insane what you can tell yourself, um, your 15-year-old self. If you can go back and you go, "Hey, man, you just got to wait a little bit. It ain't gonna happen instantly, but
Yeah.
something amazing is gonna happen. But you got to keep grinding at it." Your 15-year-old self would be like, "Yeah, whatever," But you see the process looking back of like just random stuff. And I'm not obviously in the music industry, but um, being in my mid 30s like you are, you can you see when you put in that effort and consistency, it comes out eventually. It does come out. You
Yeah.
just got to keep going. But that's awesome to see that you were getting after it, man. What I saw, I was trying to read up on you a little bit. I saw a couple of your videos really went crazy, and you got something with what was it? It was like a TikTok challenge, right? It was like a big one, but this was like the boom of TikTok, kind of. What can you?
Yeah, so this this
Yeah.
this was kind of at the right time, like where like TikTok was really starting to really surge in use, and I was even a little bit late on that. Like I had so many people telling me like, "Oh, you got to try TikTok, you got to try TikTok," and so I had grown like a following on there, and it was like, okay, now it's like 10, 20,000 or so, and then they were having this thing called like TikTok's Greatest Talent or whatever it was, and you could like submit a video of you doing something original, and then if they wanted you to be a part of it, they'd let you know. And honestly, I forgot I had submitted it. Like, it was just like I did it, and I thought I did something cool, and I just kind of set it and forget it. And what's crazy is that like I had done a couple of other of these. Like this is like in the first like 2 years I was really trying to get all this going again, and I had done a couple of these that were like hosted on Twitch before, which is like another online streaming platform, and like I had lost both. And both times I had lost, it was just outside of the money.
Oh.
So like the first one, I think the grand prize was like $5,000, and third place got like 1,000, and I finished in fourth. And the second one, that the grand prize was like 8 or something, and then once again I finished just outside the money. Blah blah blah. And so, but each time I would learn something, I'm like, okay, cool, my sound needs to be better. I need to get, maybe I'll try this, I'll try this. So anyways, I get to this TikTok thing, and I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these entries, and I find out I'm going to be in one of the rounds of the 10 semifinal rounds or whatever it was going to be. So I do a round, and I get to the semifinals. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I'm in like one of 10 semifinal rounds with like 15 people, I think it was. And then I made it out of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm in the finals, and I felt like, okay, I've got a 1 in 12 chance or whatever it was to win 10 G's if I win this thing. And I won. Like I won the whole thing, and I could not believe it. And it was really cool because it was hosted live on Twitch and TikTok. So like a huge audience was there, and it was like the exact amount of money I needed to finish my first album. So like my rule was I was never going to use any money from my corporate paycheck to pay for music. That went towards like my family.
Right.
So music pays for music. So my whole goal behind all of this was I wanted to prove to myself that I could build my music thing up like a business, to where I could do what I was doing in the corporate world, but better. Like I could at least live as good as I was living and supporting my family, with a corporate salary, but with music. Can I make it cook enough revenue? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna take from my family's like savings account to pay for this record. Like the kids need that for blah blah blah. I'm not gonna take away their college money to record a record. So I needed that last 10, almost exactly to the penny. I needed like 10 grand. The records are expensive to make, even if you're doing it on a budget. And anyways, it was like such a crazy thing because I had like failed at that a few times and not ever won a dime. And then I won that, and I was able to finish this record. And then like the year after that, I ended up doing a couple other crazy things, and so it just kind of started like snowballing a little bit for me, and having some bigger wins, which was kind of life changing for me.
Yeah, that's insane, first of all, to like that those prizes like that where you're relying on like a social media platform of people like truly wanting to hear you over that many is so like that's hard to grasp for a lot of people, or they just hear you like, oh, they're just TikTok famous or something, and it's like, well, there's still a lot of effort that you don't see that they're still trying to put in, that it might still be, like you said, a side hobby at that point, but like you're putting a lot of effort in. It's like a second job.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking at this West Virginia University last spring was having like a music business and industry conference, and I was one of the I was doing a talk there about all this kind of stuff. And I was saying, sometimes like you might get that, if one of the best ways to kind of grow your brand before you have the ability to travel a lot, like if you're working another job or if you're busy with all these other things, you always have to get out and play shows, but you still have to grow your brand and grow your audience, So, I mean, I had heard all that too. Like, oh, like I was like, but like I honestly can't believe that number. It's very surreal. But like, you grow, like go start an account tomorrow and see how long it takes you to even get 1,000 followers, or 5 or 10 or 20. Then try 100, then 500, then try to get to 1,000,000 followers, and tell me how hard that is. Like, tell me how, like, what are the odds of you doing that with something that's completely original? Like, not like, not like whatever. And so like I would get down on myself sometimes too, because I'd be like, well, like just like any other industry, like music is such a comparative industry. And every single day, no matter what you've done, you can log on to your social media or whatever it is, and you can find someone that's doing it like more than you, or they're doing a show that you've always wanted to do, or they're winning an award that you thought you might be invited, all these different things. And you can compare yourself to death. And if you do that too much, you'll miss celebrating all the little wins that you've got along the way, which are still meaningful, and you will kill yourself and all your momentum if you do that. And everybody falls into that trap. It's just it's a crazy thing. So I try to just own those things for what they are. Like, hey, I'm like in some areas I'm very established, and in some areas like I'm like very excited about this like first kind of like headlining tour I have this year. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I haven't done that yet. So I've done lots of shows, but I haven't done as many as I wanted to do. So this will be great. And it's outside of this realm I was in before. And so it's just there's a million different ways you got to bring it in. And so like if you could start with like a larger platform, or grow your presence however you can, like that's never going to be a bad thing for you. That's for sure. Never going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, dude, it's the stuff you're talking about is the same for podcasting. Like it's exactly like I love that. After you do all this social media stuff, you're getting a following, you're growing this base and stuff. What's the next steps? How are you getting into all this like recording stuff, collaborating with other artists? What's going on there? Are you in Virginia at that time, or where are you?
So kind of my location path has been like I grew up in West Virginia, then I went to college in Florida, then my company was getting sold, and so they moved us up to like Michigan, which is
Oh,
where
wow.
I ironically enough I'm in Michigan now. And so when all this took over my life, I've got young kids and everything, so my life has changed so much the past 3 years. But like we wanted to try to keep their stability as much as we could.
Of course.
So we thought about doing the Nashville thing a ton, but for now it just works. Like I go to Nashville quite a bit because of my job, and I travel and tour and stuff. But um, it's been a blessing to have our home base kind of stay the same. So, anyways, how it kind of came to be from, the first couple of years, it's mainly like me in a bedroom first, then building out a little studio, then like a little streaming studio, then like an actual, like I started doing lots of session work for other artists. And I think where my business experience really came in handy is that like, you really learn to kind of embrace the power of networking, like in a really genuine way. Like that whole saying of like, you really just want to try to be the person that you would want to work with. And so any opportunity I would get, I would just try to be like, just try to be really genuine and try to be a good, if I'm going to go open for somebody, I'm going to be the best opener I can be. Or if you're going to pay me to play fiddle on something, I'm going to try to do the best job I can, or whatever it is. And so I just really try to work on writing. And my big challenge was, okay, maybe you just know me for the fiddle, but I was really having trouble getting my songwriting recognized. It's just very hard to do. It's a really hard, thing. And so I think one of the life-changing things for me was when I got invited to do this thing called Mountain Stage, which is it's on like every NPR station in the whole country. It's like a live thing. It's amazing. It's like an in-person show in a theater, but it's also broadcast live across the country on every NPR station. And then one of my songs I did on there got picked as like the Mountain Stage Song of the Week, and so it kept getting played over and over and over. Then I got invited to do the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville a couple of times, which is like a very famous
Yeah.
thing for songwriters. So it's a big kind of credibility thing for your writing to have played that. And so I started getting to do more as an artist that way, and like being recognized for my writing, which was like very impactful to my career. Like moving beyond just like, okay, cool, I create some interesting content. That became a whole different kind of like turn for me in terms of like getting to release my own stuff. And so it helped give me a new platform. And then, I did the America's Got Talent thing too, which was I got what I wanted to get out of that. It gave me another big platform to be, in front of a new audience, which is what I'm all about. It just really helps to grow your stuff. So that really helped me quite a bit to just gain exposure in front of new folks.
Yeah. And what I had a question about that.
Yeah.
You obviously seem like a very down to earth guy. You're a family man and all this stuff. And obviously your music is rooted in authenticity and stuff. you go on America's Got Talent. Was that kind of hard, or was that a little more not a I wouldn't say publicity stunt? Was it was it
Yeah,
more Hollywoodish than you would have liked, or was it?
definitely. I mean, I think it's definitely fair to say. I mean, they had called me to do it the year before that I was on there, and I didn't want to do it. I was really worried about getting like talent locked, is what they call it. Like, I was worried if I went on there, then I would be stuck in some bogus deal or something if I went far. And then they called me again the next year, and stuff had grown for me quite a bit. And they were like, "We think this would be really good for you." And so I actually went out there with like both of my instruments. I went out with the fiddle and the guitar. I wasn't sure if I would try to like sing something original or do the fiddle thing. And then when got out to Pasadena, like everybody and their mother, it seemed like was going to be singing. And I was like, well, I don't see anybody else with like an instrument doing the fiddle or whatever it's going to be. And so I decided to go like all in on the fiddle. And I was like, I really don't care how people get into my little music world as long as they find me. And so, even if I play an original on there and it does well, like I'm not getting paid for that, because if I play it on their show, like
Yeah.
it's not like I get royalties like I normally would if it's done on their show. Like
Yeah.
not like if you get a song in like a TV show, normally it's not the same. And so I decided to go all in on fiddle, which just separate me somehow. So that's why I did like the fiddle with like something crazy like, I'm gonna go out there with this 100-year-old fiddle and play over System of a Down for the first round. Like nobody's expecting that. Let's do it. Then for the second round, for the semifinals, I did like Dropkick Murphys or something. And so the best thing about AGT was that it's watched by like 8 to 10 million people every time it's on.
Damn.
And these are mostly people that are like outside of my genre,
Yeah, yeah.
and so like, I mean, honestly, to this day, like it's so well watched. Like just every everyday person on NBC, everybody has cable, or NBC. Even if you don't have cable, you have NBC, and so um, that gave me so much like notoriety and like recognizability outside of even my genre, to where I didn't plan it this way, but we already had this album scheduled to go out like that August, and so like just a couple weeks after this album dropped, I'm on NBC over and over and over for the semifinals, like live, 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 live. And that just really helped juice the record, because it was like, there's my mug just up on these promos over and over and over. I'm in the semifinals and I make it through all these different things, And so, if you win, I mean, of course, I'm sure the $1,000,000 is nice, but like I had no desire to have like a Vegas residency with AGT playing like a Vegas show. I mean, it's not me
That's
at
not
all. Like
you.
I'm not looking to do the whole like share a show with the magician and a fire breathing dragon or something. That's not what I'm looking to do. But like for me, it really helped. It was just another thing I could do. It's a very difficult business to like stand out in any way. And so I was like, you know what? Like it's not gonna harm me. I really don't think it will. And I feel like if I can just try to be myself and have fun with it as best that I can and just stick around with it as long as I can, then I'll try to learn something and whatever. And so I think overall it was a really, really good, positive experience for my career that year, and whatever. It was an interesting time, and I'm glad I did it for sure.
Yeah, nobody can be like, I hated it. I'm sure that was a great time, and that's
It
awesome
was,
that
yeah, it
you,
was. It was cool.
yeah, that you got that from that. Can you tell me a little bit about um I don't want to sidetrack it to them, but I'm a big Charles Wesley Godwin fan,
Yeah,
and I know you
yeah,
worked with him and stuff. Like,
mhm,
and
yeah.
I haven't seen all your acclimates, but I'm sure you've gotten to in Nashville and being at that. Like you talk for those that don't know, he was talking about the Bluebird Cafe, and he said it was famous. That's a big deal. Like I know that. Like that's a big one. I'm sure you've gotten to work with a lot of artists. Can you tell me about some of them and what it was like, and how is that coming from um smaller smaller venues and all that to get into that level?
Well, I think one of the coolest things about that kind of stuff is sometimes when you meet these like really like larger than life people, like I had the really cool opportunity a couple of years ago. I got to play, like I got to meet Darius Rucker and play with him, and
Yeah.
like I got to play Wagon Wheel with him on stage, and
Oh
like the
my god.
T-Mobile Center. It was so fun. And I think that when you have some of these kind of larger than life experiences, like they're just people at the same time. And so, and for me, like there are people that love music, and you're like, well, this is so cool, like, and they've been where you are at some point. And so, the thing about Charles specifically is we're both from West Virginia. We had known each other a little bit on social media, but we hadn't really met in person. And when he was the first time we met in person, he was opening up for Zach Bryan, and he invited me to come out and when they were coming through Detroit, like to meet Zach and hang out with him and like do some videos together and stuff like that. And so we had a really good hang, and like I played a little bit of Old Canal for him, and we ended up like doing that song together, which was really awesome. Like he was really encouraging to me and getting that out, and like that's like probably the biggest original I've ever put out. Like to date, like it's really one of those like kind of life changing things for me, putting it out in that way. And we become really good friends in music, and we got another song that we're going to be doing together on this next record that mine that's coming out. Like it'll come out over the summer, and so I'm excited about that. And I've got to work with lots of cool people. Like I've got to there's a really great artist named Noah Khan, who like followed me and connected with me when I had like less than 1,000 followers on TikTok. Just was really nice to me, and I just really enjoyed his music. And he's like, "Hey, when I do a record, I want to like have you on the record." I was like, "That man, I would love to be. I'd be honored to play on it." And people tell you stuff like that all the time in this business, but he followed through. So like on his album Stick Season, like I'm on the fiddle on 2 of those tracks. Like that was a really cool thing for me to be a part of that record. Like I love doing that. Like I got to work with so many interesting like people and people who've become like friends and people who I really admire and respect that I got to work with. It's just a really cool, it's a really cool thing to do it, and you're like, this is awesome, man. Like I'm getting this is my like I'm getting paid to be here and do these cool things. That's my job, like this is it's very surreal, and that was kind of like what I'm talking about. Like like if you're not careful, even in those moments, you could be like, well, but dang, I wish I was doing this, or I wish I could do this also, or but there's always going to be the thing that you wish that you were doing or that you could also do. But those things happen when they happen, and so I really have just tried to enjoy like when I get these really interesting opportunities to just try to make the most of them and you know whatever. But yeah, I've gotten to work with some really really cool people and try to just enjoy every minute of it for sure.
Yeah. And I struggle with that when I'm in a moment of, you hit a peak, or you did not a peak, but you did something you were aiming to
Yep.
achieve. Sometimes it's hard to like sit there and embrace that moment
It
of
is,
like
yeah.
I did it, and where you're just like anxious or something instead,
Mhm.
which I don't get why it's like that, but I feel you on that. But that's so freaking cool that you got to do all that. What with your new album, I don't know how
Mhm.
new it is actually. I didn't check the date on it. But your 5 drugs, I
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's great. I like
Thank
I
you.
like it a lot. Where do you draw that inspiration for something like that? Because it's deep,
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, so basically, Five Drugs. That's really so. Yeah, you're not too late to the game at all. Like that's like basically like all of last year. I only released like one original. I was trying to figure things out with like the label thing and management thing. I wasn't sure how to navigate the industry, and so for me that's very rare. And so I got this album coming out in the fall, the second album, and so we had a song come out in March called Carolina Wren. That was like the first one off of that, and then this one just came out a couple weeks ago called Five Drugs. And Um, a lot I draw a lot of that from like my own like life experience, and then I know a lot of people like, especially like maybe in our age range, have like that lived experience of like you feel like you're just being medicated to death, and almost in a sense of like you're um like that feeling of like even that's like not enough, like that's not like the answer to your problems, and so I think that one of the things I was really struggling with in this industry especially is like how to like stay healthy. Like, it's really easy to engage in some like very unhealthy like habits very quickly in terms of just not taking care of yourself, over consuming, under consuming, whatever it is. And then like um all of a sudden you find yourself like not really knowing yourself and you're just trying to battle your way out of that. And so that feeling of like, of like, man, now I'm like trying to, get whatever and it's just not helping. So
Hey guys, we're going to get right back to the episode, but first, I want to talk about who brought you this episode. Our sponsors, Jump Medic, okay? Being prepared should mean digging through a giant messy drawer of half-used Band-Aids. all that stuff your kids get on. It's nasty, right? The stupid box that never has anything. Jump Medic made this sleek, fully stocked first aid kit designed for real life, right? You can pack it up, you can throw it in your car. It's solid. It's this giant, big old tough box. Mine's in the mail right now. Actually, but I can't wait. This thing, whether you're hiking, traveling, or just like driving your kids to softball practice, right? You don't want to be the one digging around trying to find everything. You want to be the one that can just reach back, grab it, and get ready to go. So I really I wish I had this about 3 injuries ago. Right now, listeners can get 10% off with the code BEN10. That's BEN10 at checkout. Head on over to jumpmedic.com and be the hero with the kit, not the guy Googling how to stop bleeding fast. All right, back to the show. All right, guys, we're back from the technical break. Philip was just telling us about the inspiration for his album, Five Drugs, and kind of where he's going with that. I'll let you go, Philip, with that.
Yeah. So the song is just kind of really about that feeling of maybe being like over medicated and like using all the wrong things, almost like that feeling of putting a band-aid on a shark bite, so to speak. In terms of just like dealing with anything but like the real problem, or like maybe you're trying lots of things but you're not really feeling like you're getting any better. And so I know that like many people feel that way and kind of go through similar things. And so that song is really just kind of about like that feeling, and that being in that kind of headspace and everything with your life when that's going on.
Yeah, and you can feel that from the song. When you go into these like for your career, are you drawn on mostly like I mean, I guess each project is a little different. I guess you're drawn from like do you go I'm running 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
Do you go to like a project knowing what you want to sing about and then tackle it that way, or do the songs kind of come out organically and then you feel a theme towards it all?
I think, I don't know. I mean, I think the more, obviously, the more authentic you can be, at least for me, like if I'm writing towards like my own like lived experience, it really helps me a lot. Like versus like trying to write for a situation, or write for a, I don't know. Like I'm writing because I want it to sound like this, or I want to write because I'm trying to make it be like this. For me, it's better if it feels more organic, but with like maybe sometimes having like a theme in mind. But I know I'm working on a record where, like, if I know I have a body of work that I'm aiming towards, like an album, but like on an album, like every song doesn't have to be about the same theme. It's just like, for example, like I try to just focus on like, okay, maybe I want the sound to kind of be maybe meet a certain goal, but like the songs can all tell their own story, and I think that's like super important. So maybe there might be some relation between a few of them, but I want them to tell their own story.
Do you think that's because you were a fiddle player and you were more drawn to music first and then you got into story writing and you focus heavily on the sound first because that's what you enjoyed, or is it just kind of
I mean, that's a good question. I don't necessarily think I'm thinking of the sound first, maybe, but like it's more of like I think the thing that maybe I'm even hard on myself on too is like the most important thing to me when I'm writing a tune, whether it's if I'm writing myself or if I'm writing with someone else, is like the most important thing for me is I love good storytelling in songs. Like those are the artists that I admire the most, and the songs that I enjoy the most, like meaningful storytelling. And so like if I can serve that like end well, then that's fantastic. That's always the goal. And then there's a really cool marriage of like if you can help the whatever's going on musically kind of push along that story. You know what I mean? Like if you can make if the song is about whatever, and you can make the song like kind of push and pull you the way the song is trying to do, like that's like the money. And I think that's the real trick of it, is to get the feeling of the song right, and then have the music match, what you're trying to do with the story.
Yeah, me and a buddy of mine, we just went on kind of had a little work trip and we were listening to music, and it was Marty Robbins. We listened to some Gary Stewart
Nice.
and some Keith Whitley.
Yeah.
And all three of those guys, I don't get how they did it, but it's just like you said, like they are amazing storytellers. Like some of the stuff they're singing about, you're like, damn, that's a crazy ass story, like by itself. But then the music entraps you with it, and it somehow fits that storyline perfectly. Yeah, I think that's what gets people super fixated on a song. You know, a good storyline and the music tells the story with it.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Where do you see yourself? So you got your new album coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about it, or what?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Like it's gonna come out in the fall. Like we haven't like nailed the exact date yet. It'll be October, November sometime is what we're thinking. And I think we're set on like the number of songs. We'll probably be at like 10 for the record. We got 2 out so far. We have another one coming out, depending on when you're listening to this, coming out on May 16th. This song called "The Wheel," and then we're kind of like basically this whole year we're having like a song a month. Kind of just coming out along the way. And yeah, it's gonna have like some really like fun and interesting like collaborations on there as well. Like I talked about, doing one with Charles, and I'm really good friends with another artist, friend of mine named Josiah. His band name is Josiah and the Bonnevilles. We look to enjoy writing together. We got another one that's gonna be coming out in June that we did together, and many more as well. So like it's been a really fun process, like write with some friends and like record with some of them as well, and have some like really great collaborations on the record as well. And then we'll have like some touring to support the record. So we got like this great August run we're gonna do in like Tennessee and the Carolinas and DC and up to Pennsylvania, and then we'll do another like run in the fall. Starting in West Virginia, we'll go up to the Northeast, and then we'll like end in Michigan. So I'm really excited about like the show runs we're gonna do, and like kind of having that kind of in sync with the record as well.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out and stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Last question before we get off here, because I'm always interested to hear about this. Who were your, and I might not know some of them. I want to know for other listeners too. But what were your biggest influences for music when you were like younger and stuff, to your even into your late teens and stuff? What was that big influence on you?
I was a pretty eclectic like music enjoyer. Like I loved like kind of all genres and all types. And but like I said, I've always been drawn to like this kind of great, like the great American storyteller, like I've always loved like John Prine and Bob Dylan. Like those are kind of like no brainers in terms of like those great. I love James Taylor for the same reason. And then maybe some more like contemporary people like Nora Jones. Like I always loved Nora Jones's music and like the way she makes you feel when she plays. And um like Alison Krauss. Like I listened to so much Alison Krauss, and I loved how they had like a fiddle in their band, and like how she made like it wasn't quite bluegrass and it wasn't quite like country, like pop country, but it was like something in between. And so stuff like that I really always enjoyed, John Denver, stuff like that. And I love like that sound, and then how people would bring these different instruments into like country more than just like electric guitar, bass, drums, and that's it. Like it was, I love when there would be like mandolin and fiddle and piano and stuff, like real instruments present in that music, which I think is what makes it so special. So I was really always drawn to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that makes any musician better when they have that well-roundedness of understand. And I think a lot of bigger ones, like good musicians, do.
Yeah,
But
for sure,
that
for sure.
well-roundedness of going from genre to genre, but understanding what you want to get out of it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Philip, it was kind of quicker, but this was awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
You going over like everything and kind of explaining. You not only explained your life, but you explained the music really good too. And I can tell you're authentic, and I can't wait to see where the road's going to take you, because obviously this is just the beginning. You're going to keep on keeping on. It's
Yeah,
gonna
well,
be
truly,
awesome.
man, sure, appreciate the kind words. And yeah, it's always kind of like it's fun to chat through it all, and I really appreciate you taking the time to like ask me the questions. So thank you so much.
No, not a problem, man. Thanks for stopping by,
Yes, sir.
guys. Thanks for listening. Check out Philip. He's on Spotify and everything. Can you tell everybody where to find your stuff at, man?
Yeah, just music wise, it's like anywhere you get music. So Spotify, Apple, whatever. Just my name, Philip Bowen, and then I'm out there on social media. It's just Philip Bowen Music. you know, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. You can find me out there. Come say hello, and I'll see you out there at a show sometime.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take care.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it, man.